You're watching Fox 10 Phoenix now.
Well, plenty of people are hoping to make it home for the holidays, and with Christmas Day approaching, travel is really starting to ramp up.
It sure is. So over at Sky Harbor Airport, busy holiday travel season really in full swing. Irene Snyder live this morning with how things are looking. Have you seen those lines getting longer and the crowds growing, Irene, since earlier this morning?
Well, you know what? I feel like we usually be like, oh, busy holiday travel season. And it is a busy holiday travel season in a lot of airports across the country. But taking a look at Sky Harbor, sure, there might be a few more people than there were at 4:30 this morning, but take a look at those security lines right now. They really are not that long. We're here at security checkpoint. The D gates for American and Southwest at Sky Harbor Airport, it is longer than it was earlier when we were out here around 4:30 or so. I mean, there was basically no line at that point. Now there's a line, but it does not look like it's going to be anything people will have to worry about. If your TSA pre-check or clear, you pretty much go straight through. If you're in the general boarding, I have to wait a few minutes, but does not look nearly as long as it could be, especially around the busy holiday travel season. And taking a look at the departures and arrivals here on the board, too, there is not a single departure or arrival on the board here that says anything about any delays. But, yeah, it is anticipated to be one of the busier travel days, though, across the country. So, so far, just a few early delays were reported this morning. As I mentioned, nothing really on the board right now. Christmas and the first night of Hanukkah are expected to be the busiest days ahead of Christmas and the first night of Hanukkah have passed already, but today and tomorrow are still expecting to see a lot of air and ground traffic. AAA expecting nearly 120 Americans to travel 50 miles or more for the holidays. That's 3 million more than last year, and it was pretty noticeable at airports across the country over the weekend. And it was a bit turbulent for some. Rain and snow across the country, mostly in the Midwest and Northeast, forcing delays and cancellations. FlightAware now reporting Sky Harbor Airport saw 269 delays, 5 cancellations from yesterday. The advice for airline passengers is get to the airport early.
Give yourself plenty of time. It's so much better to arrive early, and maybe you're just sort of sitting around bored, walking around, maybe grab a magazine, a book, go to a restaurant at the airport. That's the best that you can do versus having to run around and be rushing or perhaps even miss your flight.
Yeah, and taking a look at the board here right now, I mean, there really are very little issues here. You can see there's arrivals, departures here looking at the board. There was one delay earlier today that showed to Atlanta on the board. Right now, everything shows that it is on time. So that's good news for people who are traveling. Some of the busier days expecting coming after Christmas would be December 26th. That'll be Thursday since Christmas is on a Wednesday this year. December 27th, Friday. Then Saturday, not expected to be quite as busy. Sunday, expected to be another busy travel day as people return from the holiday weekend. We'll send it back to you guys for now, but again, here it's looking pretty good. I just came back from PA. I flew out of Baltimore. That was a bit of a mess, I gotta say that, with the snow and everything. We don't have snow, at least not here. Obviously, you can have flights that are coming in here that are going to have issues, but everything here right now seems pretty smooth for a holiday week.
All right.
It's all about strategy. The day you fly, the time of day that you're flying.
Yeah.
And the snacks you bring.
Always.
All right, Irene, thank you. All right, Crystal, let's talk about it because we were talking about the weather could potentially impact some folks' travel plans. How are things looking?
Yeah, I would say overall we have seen a lot worse when it comes to travel weather. Things are not too active out there, which is a good sign. As Irene mentioned, there aren't a bunch of big delays to kick off the morning. And we know if they start in the morning, it's just that trickle down. Everyone ends up being impacted. So take a look on Fox Vision. You can see a few areas of snow showers over the Great Lakes and then a little bit of rain stretching from Iowa down into Nebraska. Some of that pink you see returning on radar is icing. That does tend to trigger some delays, so maybe some issues in that general area. But overall, holiday travel today, if you're heading, say, up to Omaha, you'll be at 48 degrees. If you're heading to New York, it's dry, but ooh, is it cold? 30 degrees. In fact, I just saw in Philly, they're at like 10 degrees right now. So it is cold out there if you're heading that direction. Then tomorrow, this is when there could be a few more delays and issues because that storm system is going to wrap up and over New England and the Mid-Atlantics. That's a lot of snow up there. Then you see rain down to parts of the south near Oklahoma to Texas, and then the west coast starting to get that next storm system bringing rain and snow as well. So tomorrow a bit more active than today. If you are driving, say taking the 17 to Flag today and tomorrow, look clear along the road. For Los Angeles though, tomorrow in particular, rain will start to impact them. So taking the 10 that direction could slow you. And heading to Albuquerque the next couple of days, taking the 40, you should be good to go clear coast there as well. We'll talk more about locally what to expect if you're staying in town coming up.
All right, Crystal, thank you. Time now 7:05. You just mentioned it, but if you are driving, there is some good news. AAA advises drivers to hit the road earlier in the day, and gas prices, this is the good news, remaining low for the holiday travel week. AAA reporting the national average for a gallon of gas right now, $3.04. That is down 8 cents from a year ago. The average statewide in Arizona, $3.08. That's 14 cents less than a year ago. And right here in Phoenix, in the metro area, the average is $3.10 a gallon. That is down 10 cents from last year. Family of 4 losing their home just days before Christmas.
Such a tragedy. This after a late night house fire. Crews putting those flames out at a home in a neighborhood near 51st Avenue and in Canto just before midnight. Firefighters say it appears the flames started outside of the house, quickly spread into the inside of the home. No one was hurt, and the cause remains under investigation.
We have an update for you this morning on the body of a woman that was pulled from a canal in Santan Valley late last week. The remains have now been identified. The Pinal County Sheriff's Office says the woman was Ariana Sandoval Steele. The 21-year-old's body was found on Wednesday afternoon near Hunt Highway in Copper Mine Road. Investigators say there are no obvious signs of foul play. However, her death is being considered suspicious, and the homicide unit is handling the investigation. The medical examiner is working to determine the exact cause of death.
Arizona State Senator Anthony Kern posting on social media that he is out of the hospital. He suffered some very serious injuries after a car crash in South Dakota earlier this month. Kern was visiting family. He was a passenger in a vehicle. The driver lost control, crashed after sliding on some ice. Kern says he has a collapsed lung, 9 broken ribs, 2 fractured vertebrae. He says he cannot fly because of the collapsed lung, so he's making his way back to Phoenix another way. Less than a month away from Inauguration Day, President-elect Donald Trump making a return trip to Arizona.
He was the keynote speaker at the Americafest, which was held this weekend at the Phoenix Convention Center. This all happening as President Joe Biden, still in the Oval Office, signed a government funding bill over the weekend. Biden described the measure as a compromise. House Republicans are facing another small majority next year, meaning they'll likely have to compromise with Democrats again to get legislation across the finish line. But still, Trump took time to tout the recent success of the GOP. This is what he had to say.
And not only did we reclaim the White House, we also took back the U.S. Senate, and we won the largest popular vote majority for House Republicans in a presidential year since 1928. That's a pretty good thing.
President-elect Trump also announced plans to renegotiate the Panama Canal Agreement, which he described as a, quote, ripoff for the United States. However, in a statement, Panama's president called those plans non-negotiable. President Joe Biden is commuting the sentences of nearly all the inmates on federal death row.
37 of the 40 federal prisoners sentenced to death will now serve life without possibility of parole sentences. Biden declared a moratorium on federal executions after taking office in 2021. The 3 inmates not included in this are Robert Bowers, the man behind the 2018 3 for life synagogue shooting in Pennsylvania, Dylan Roof, the man behind the 2015 shooting of a church in South Carolina, and the 2013 Boston Marathon bomber. The president says his actions are consistent with his moratorium policy on federal executions to end executions at the federal level.
Well, the man accused of killing the CEO of United Healthcare has just arrived in court. Luigi Mangione pleaded not guilty to state charges in the death of Brian Thompson. The killing happened earlier this month in Midtown Manhattan. Mangione is facing first-degree murder, terrorism, stalking, and weapons charges. The maximum sentence he can face in state charges is life in prison without parole, while the federal charges could carry the possibility of the death penalty.
Sky Fox this morning over the scene of a police shooting. This was in Mesa, a neighborhood near Main and Greenfield Road. Mesa police tell Fox 10 this started as a disturbance call. Someone called 911 after hearing loud yelling.
So that yelling, according to police, then turned into a fight, and at some point, shots were fired. That's when officers arrived on scene. They found a man that had been shot. He was taken to the hospital. We don't know that individual's condition just yet. Police believe the shooter fled the scene in a red vehicle. So again, this is all happening as we speak, so we are waiting to get some additional information for you. As soon as we do, we will pass that along to you.
Other top stories this morning. Police in the West Valley investigating another deadly shooting.
A son is accused of killing his own father. The shooting happened yesterday morning at an apartment complex in Glendale in the area of 59th Avenue and Greenway Road. Police have not identified the suspect or victim. However, neighbors are telling us that the victim's name was Clinton and that his death is a loss for the community.
He helped with everything. If pushing the chair for us one time up a ramp, because he was a big muscle guy, very handsome, very people-oriented.
We're working to get additional details on the victim and the suspect and find out what led up to the shooting for you.
Developing this morning, high-speed pursuit across the valley. Look at this. This is late last night. ADOT freeway cameras captured much of this chase. DPS says it started when a motorcycle rider would not stop or pull over for a trooper. Motorcyclist said to have reached speeds of more than 120 miles an hour, weaving through construction zones at times, trying to blend right into traffic before finally surrendering. We have that video too at Loop 202 and Val Vista Drive in Mesa. There it is. Biker was being pulled over as we mentioned, but we don't know why.
Another high-speed chase involving a motorcycle rider caught on camera. This is a few hours earlier. You can see the biker speeding past cars. Now, this started yesterday afternoon in South Phoenix and stretched all the way to the West Valley. We're told that the suspect was caught. We're also working to get additional details on why that motorcyclist was running from law enforcement in the first place.